Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is a review of Canon's 85mm f1.4 L VCM lens. Now first there was the 85 1.2, then there was the 85 f2, which is a macro version RF, and now there's the 85 1.4 VCM. Now this basically completes the VCM line of lenses that included the 20, the 24, the 35, the 50, and now the 85. They're all 1.4s, and they're basically the same size and very similar design and very similar in weight across the board, which is pretty interesting. Canon considers these their hybrid lenses, meaning they're great for video and they're also great for stills. A little secret, I think all lenses today should be hybrid lenses, but they did put a particular focus on this, making sure that they worked great for both. So what did I shoot with this lens? Well, I did some portraits and low light photos with Matisyahu, who so happened to be in town playing a show. I took it over to FDR Skate Park, which is under I-95, to photograph skateboarders. I also took it out to a bike cross event with our buddy Digi Richie, where I did some action as well as portraits of people just hanging out. So I was able to put this lens through its paces, and I did it all on the Canon R6 Mark III. Let's take a look at the outside of this lens and talk about how it feels. It feels pretty sturdy in the hands. It is a nicely built lens. Now, it comes with a lens hood. For those of you who are thinking about getting an 85 f2, that one doesn't come with a lens hood, but of course, the more expensive 85 1.2 does come with a lens hood. Now, there's a couple of buttons on the side of this. You have your custom function button, you have your autofocus to manual button, and you also have an iris switch, which you press, and it allows you to go ahead and turn the smooth iris right here. There is no click or declick option. This is really designed for people that are shooting video that want to change the aperture while they are recording video. The only issue you might ever come into with this is if you have it set to rotate and you want to turn it off, you need two hands to do that because you have to flick the iris switch and then turn the aperture ring back this way. But it is the best of both worlds. Now you can control that aperture ring for video with all of your RF cameras, but when it comes to stills, you can only do it with the latest cameras, like the R6 Mark III, the R5 Mark II, and the R1, and probably beyond that when new ones come out. Now let's talk about the weight. This lens weighs in at 1.4 pounds or 636 grams, which is a far cry from the much heavier and beefier that might break our counter 85 1.2 Jagunda. Yeah, I'm calling it the 85 1.2 Jagunda because it is absolutely Jagunda. It weighs in at 2.36 pounds or 1,195 grams. It is a big behemoth, and you can see if size matters to you in at least being smaller, you can see which one would win right there. Also, this is an 82mm filter thread. This is a 67mm filter thread, which is the same across the current VCM lineup. Let's jump into some of the photos that I captured, starting with these portraits of Matisyahu. What a sweet, soft, buttery background I was able to get with this 85 1.4. Shooting at 1/800th of a second, f1.4 at 100 ISO on the R6 Mark III. It is sharp, it is colorful, it is beautiful, and it worked out extremely well. But does it do well in low light situations also? And the answer to that is yes, because I was able to photograph Matisyahu off his tour bus, smoking a joint before he went on to do his show, and we're just using the really bad lighting that is still under I-95 in Philly that I don't believe are LED lights at this point, or if they are, they're just a very weird shade, off-color yellow or pink or whatever they are, but it did extremely well in the low light situation. Nice separation from the background, and part of the separation from the background is because you have 11 blades in this lens. And to put this into perspective, the 85 1.2 only has 9, which means you should see better bokeh balls in the background from the 85 1.4 VCM. Now keep in mind, just because you have an 85 doesn't mean you only take headshots. Yeah, portrait lens could mean headshots, could mean medium length, or it could also mean full body portraits, like my buddy Dan here at the skate park. 85 gives you a beautiful range. And when you're shooting at 1.4, you get that nice separation from the background. But you do need to be careful if you have multiple people in the frame that they're on the same plane, because if they're not, one of them will be in focus and the other won't. So the rule of thumb is bump that aperture up a little higher to give yourself some breathing room so that they're both in focus, if that is the key. Let me jump in here real quick and let you know that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking to build your very own online portfolio, use what I've used for my personal website at jaredpolin.com for over 15 years, because it's simple, easy, and affordable, and I don't need to know any coding. That's why I use Squarespace. To get your 14-day free trial, head on over to squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto. If you decide that it's for you, use the code FroKnowsPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Now, let's get back to the video. Personally, I think the 85mm focal length is a great focal length to have in the bag. I used to carry around a 135, but I just feel like that's too long for a lot of the things that I'm trying to capture. And I love my 28-70 f2, and this is a great companion lens for that, or an 85 is a great companion lens. And that brings up an interesting point, is that when I went to Japan, I didn't take any 85. And the reason for that is this one wasn't out yet, or it didn't come to us to take it in time. And the other reason is this 85 1.2 is so big and so heavy that I didn't want to carry it around. Now, if this 85 came in time, I probably would have taken the 1.4, and that would have helped me with some of the portraits I was trying to capture while I was in Japan. Now, speaking of Japan, the reason I was in Japan is because I got to tour Canon's lens factory, where we see where the RF lenses like these are made. It's pretty incredible to see what they need to do to manufacture these lenses. Now let's talk about the focus motor in this lens. You have a VCM motor. Now, part of the reason they're putting in these voice coil motors is that they're much quieter than some of their older motors, and being that this is a hybrid lens that's great for video and stills, sometimes you want them to be damn quiet when you're shooting your video. So is it fast? Is it capable of keeping up with whatever you throw at it? And the answer to that can be found out at the skate park. Yep, FDR Park, trying to photograph these skateboarders going past you. It was able to track them the entire time and keep them in focus, whether they're going across the frame or coming towards you or coming through a frame when you weren't even waiting for someone to come through the frame. It's quick, it's accurate, and on this R6 Mark III, it did a fantastic job. Another example is bike racing. As I mentioned, I went out to a bike cross race with my buddy Digi Richie, and it was great for subjects coming directly at me. It tracked them all the way through the frame, and I was able to bang out those 40 frames a second or 12 frames a second with the mechanical shutter and get top-notch autofocus time and time again. Even when Richie was coming around a tree, the focus was able to pick up on him and track him all the way through the frame without an issue. I had no problem using this for action photos, overusing it for a 70-200, and the reason I chose the 85 over a 70-200 2.8 was to have that 1.4 and create that isolation and separation that will set you apart as a photographer. And keep in mind, all of the tracking that you're seeing, it's all been done at 1.4. Yeah, all at 1.4. We all know that an 85 is considered a portrait lens, but I showed you that not only is it great for getting portraits, whether they're candid or set up, this lens is fantastic for everything you decide to throw at it. It is a great choice for wedding photographers, for portrait photographers, for photojournalists, for people that are traveling that don't want to take the 85 1.2 because it is so big and, of course, much more expensive. Speaking of portraits, how close to your subject can you get and still get them in focus? With the 1.4, you can get as close as 2.5 feet to get it still in focus, and the 85 1.2 is right around 2.8 feet, so you can get slightly closer to get things in focus. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you our custom Lightroom presets from FroPack 4 in action on this photo right here, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn, We've got C41 for all of those people who want that filmic look. We've got copper tone, high C, kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, saltwater taffy, thick, and wet, hot American summer. And my all-time favorite for FroPak 1 is Skittles. With one click, it goes boom. But new and exclusive to FroPak 4, we've got 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eye Only Enhance, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow or give yourself a great starting point, or also edit on the go in Lightroom Mobile, because these presets work on JPEGs and RAW on the go, we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at froknowsphoto.com/FroPak4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or, if you want to save even more, you can get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FroPak 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course, Skittles is included. Now, let's get back to the video. So how much is this lens? Well, it comes in at $1,650. Now, mind you, the Canon EF version of their 85 1.4 still sells today for $1,749, so it's a little more expensive than the VCM. There's really no reason to buy that lens today at this point. Now, the 85 1.2 comes in at a whopping $3,100. It's an incredible lens. It would be my choice if I didn't have to worry about size or weight, because this 1.4 was a joy to shoot with because it was compact, it was easy to take with me, it didn't take up a lot of space, and it kept up with everything I threw at it. That's not to say that the 1.2 doesn't keep up with everything I throw at it, but the 1.4 is very nice. I do want to point out that this is an L lens. I've mentioned it already. It has the red ring around it, and so does the 85 1.2. But for half the price, you are still getting the L quality that Canon puts out in this 85 1.4 VCM. Now, if both of those are a little too expensive for you, Canon has the 85 f2, which also doubles as a macro option, and that is RF as well, and that comes in at $700. So you can see that Canon gives you a bunch of different options to choose from when it comes to 85, but we still need to do 2 very important tests. We've got the sniff test and the wind tunnel test. Let's start with the sniff test. Oh, it smells like Live from Stubbs. Oh yeah, the Matisyahu edition from way back in the day. It smells like barbecue from Stubbs in Austin, Texas. Never actually been to Stubbs. Actually, I might have been there once when I went to South by Southwest. Okay, wind tunnel time. I'm sorry to say that it did not pass the wind tunnel test today. So if that is skewing your buying options, I don't know what to tell you. At the end of the day, this rounds out the VCM lineup, and it did a fantastic job. Canon has done a nice job of giving you choices here for your RF lens lineup when it comes to 85. What do you think? Which one would you go with and why? Let me know down below. Thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, froknowsphoto.com. See ya.